welcome everybody tonight. I'm Sue Ryden, and I'm State Representative in House District 36. And welcome to House District 36. I'm also in my spare time running for Senate District 29, which will happen next year. And of course with me is our illustrious Senator Morgan Carroll. And you are happily in Senate District 29 in her district, so we're glad to see so many folks here tonight. As you may have heard through robocalls or emails or whatever, tonight we are talking about Veterans Services. And we have folks from the County Veterans Service Office, and if you don't know what a Veterans Service Office is, they will explain that, but one thing I wanted to let you know is that this past year we passed a bill to make sure that every single county has at least one Veterans Service Officer, and this was a very good bipartisan bill. And some of the counties had the idea that it was a matching program, and so they didn't have budget to match, and so they weren't hiring anyone. So we clarified that it wasn't a match, it was a reimbursement, and we even put about $500,000 into it so that every county could have at least one. Arapahoe County is fortunate. We have two, I believe, at least two. And so we have David Fry here tonight, who is one of our County Veterans Service officers, and so we're really happy to have him here. And then we have Arapahoe Douglas Works, and I know when I first got elected that my idea of the unemployment office was a little bit dated. After visiting the Arapahoe Douglas Works office, I mean, it is just incredible the kinds of resources and services that they offer. How many people have been able to use their service? I think we might have some prospects in the audience. And so they're going to explain what they do and let you know all the wonderful things that they offer and the successes that they're having, which is really pretty exciting. And then tonight we have a visitor who didn't know she was going to be on the panel. Surprise! And her name's Felicia Falcone, and she is a probation officer, but she works in the Veterans Court. And this is a new court that's been set up to help our veterans who get in trouble, basically, and who have issues, and it allows them to work through those issues and try to avoid having to do time, and to help them get their lives back in order. And I went to one of their sessions, and it was just so inspirational. It was just amazing. So if you have a chance to do that, or if you even know anyone who's having trouble, it's really great. So we do have David Fry, who's our County Veterans Service Officer, and Dana Sear with Arapahoe Douglas Works, and I'm missing a name.
Chris Perry.
And Chris Perry, also with Arapahoe Douglas Works. And then, as I said, Felicia Falcone, our probation officer. So what we'll do is we'll have each one tell us just a little bit about what they do and the services that they offer, and then we will go to Q&A from the audience. So just go ahead and take it away. David, okay. Let's start with you and just come down the road this way.
My name is David Fry. I'm the Assistant Veteran Service Officer at Arapahoe County. Our office's main function...
do we have our microphones on? Do we need them?
Yeah. If you just pull it closer.
Yeah, just pull it closer to you.
Is this better?
Yeah.
Our main function is helping our Arapahoe County veterans obtain their benefits that they're entitled to through the VA, whether that be service-connected disability benefits, non-service-connected pension, education benefits, survivors benefits, anything that they may be entitled to. We have the resources at our office, working together with the state office to help assist them to obtain those benefits in the most efficient way possible. So if you have any veterans that are frustrated with the VA system or having, just facing roadblocks, that you send them to us and we can get them straightened out usually.
My name is Chris Perry. I'm one of the Veterans Employment Reps at the Arapahoe Douglas Workforce Center. I'm actually with the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment, where I'm assigned to 80 Works. My position there is to work specifically with veterans that identify as having particular categories of significant barriers to employment. For instance, things as they have a service-connected disability, they're homeless, 18 to 24, they're in a warrior transition unit, or they're transitioning from one of those. Let's see if I missed any. They're lacking high school education or equivalent, And what my position does is works long-term with those veterans in an intensive services type case management system. We'll have a comprehensive assessment to see where the vet's at, and we'll develop a game plan, work with them, and we'll track it in our state database connecting Colorado so that we can follow up and adjust that game plan as needed. There's another position with the state at 80 Works. They're a regional veterans employment rep, and they work with the businesses to try to connect veterans that way.
I'm Dana Sear. I am with the Arapahoe Douglas Works. I work strongly with the VETS program. I am a vet myself, so is Chris, so we have some familiarity of what you guys are going through. Basically what our services are, Chris does see those folks that have the heavier barriers, but our program will see any veteran that comes through the door. Our veterans have what we call priority of service, which means any of our hiring events, our workshops, our training events is open to a veteran first. Even if you're not registered for that workshop, you have priority of getting into that. Same with all of our employers work with connectingcolorado.com. That's the state database in which they put their employment information in there and jobs and positions that they have. All of our veterans get the first 48 hours, I believe, with that position, and then it's open up to the general population. So that's really cool that our vets get that first shot for those positions. Just a little bit about what Arapahoe Douglas Works can do for you all. We are open to anybody 14 and over, no matter if you're a veteran or not. In the back, we do have a pamphlet with our 80works.org website. You can go check that out and look and see what workshops we have coming up. We have a ton of workshops on how to get a job through the federal government. And most of you all have all your hair, so I don't know if any of you have applied for a federal job. But it is a very difficult process, and if you don't have all your ducks in a row, then you will not get looked at. So we do have workshops around that. We have workshops around resume writing and interviewing, and we do resume critiques. So there's a lot to look at when you go to that site. But it's a really valuable resource for you on that site. We have assessments that you can do, information and more information about the veteran services. We have a grant that we're working with called WIOA, the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. So if you're looking to go back to school or you need more one-on-one attention with that job search, that's something that they might be able to help you with. So I highly encourage, check out the 80works.org website. There's a lot of information in there for you.
Hello everyone, my name is Felicia Falcone, Probation Officer with Arapahoe County Veterans Court. We work with a court judicial program that if someone is sentenced in the court, it's not just solely for veterans, but we like to identify that their offense was related to some sort of substance abuse issue, mental health issue, PTSD, TBI, any combat-related trauma, or just trauma-related that is outside of the military. We take anyone, it doesn't matter their discharge status, but we work with them primarily. It's a treatment court, so we focus on what their treatment plan would be. We have many contracts that we work with the Denver VA, we work with the Vet Center, we work with ARTS, which is part of the University of Colorado Medical School. We work with them to help them focus on their treatment, and in turn they get not only their court orders met, but they're allowed to terminate their probation early. They're given some incentives. They're given a lot of support, peer support. Our court really focuses on the approach of mentors. I have with me Todd Kramer, who is our mentor coordinator. He is in charge of finding all of the vets in the program mentors, but we find that when we work all together as a team to help them, they're able to address their issues, and hopefully we don't see them in the criminal justice system again. Again, it's not just for veterans, but if their offense was related to some sort of trauma as a result of their service, then we're able to work with them.
Great. So there must be questions if you want to just come up and talk into the microphone. Louis, you have a question? You look like you're ready to be the first one up. And
Does it work? No.
and I have to warn you, he's tough. He's tough.
This is going to be easy. What my concern is when it comes to Social Security benefits, and is there a benefit for veterans to receive an additional percentage of Social Security, if you would know that?
No. They have what's called the non-service connected pension for wartime veterans, which can supplement your income. If you're a very low income veteran, living off only your Social Security check, and you've served during a wartime, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, any of those time periods, we can apply for a non-service connected pension that can supplement your income.
Okay, so you don't know if there's additional percentage given to vets with Social Security?
Not that I know of at all, no.
Okay, because I heard that
No.
there was, and just, well, that's all I had. Thank you.
Actually, this is a nice segue to my question. I'm curious about the outreach of your office for veterans who might have had service during a period of war, or those that are 65 years or older and inherently considered disabled,
Yes,
in particular among the homeless.
yes.
Did you have a question?
That is, I'm curious about the outreach. I'd like to know what sort of outreach activities are underway.
Yeah, so we try to participate in anything that's going on veterans related in Arapahoe County, whether it's for, if it deals with Iraq veterans, homeless veterans. One of the great services that we have at our office is that for some of those veterans that you were talking about, the seriously disabled veterans, we can actually we can do home visits and do all their benefits, work with them at their home, and we do that quite a bit, so.
Well, actually, I was, just to clarify the disabled piece, there are those who are truly physically disabled,
Mhm.
but also, it's my understanding, if you're 65 years or older, by an eligibility
Yeah,
point of view,
that's the non-service connected pension.
Exactly
that I was
right,
telling this gentleman
exactly.
about, yes.
but rather than referrals, I'm wondering if there's an active education and outreach to have people understand what they're entitled to.
We definitely participate in outreaches. We do the senior fairs, the Arapahoe County Senior
Okay.
Fairs. We're actually right on, our office is under senior resources, so we piggyback on all of their events pretty well. So.
Okay, good, thank you.
There must be other questions.
I have one, I'll just speak from here. I have an elderly mother that's 89 years old, and she was married to my dad for 60 years or something. He passed away.
Mhm.
Then she remarried another gentleman who was
Okay.
85 years old. She was forced into a marriage.
Mhm.
So I tried to find out if she could get some benefits.
Was her second husband a veteran?
He was a dishonorable veteran.
Dishonorable veteran.
So I'm not sure, did she lose all of her benefits?
From her first husband, yeah, we'd have to look at her current husband. We'd have to look at what his,
Well, he passed on. So
yeah, we'd have to look and see if I don't know how severe that,
I don't
the
think it was
bad
any- I don't-
discharge is. I'd have to see that first, and I could,
Yeah, I'm not sure it was really good, so.
yeah.
I
If
just didn't know
it's
she
a
lost it.
general discharge, then most of the time we can work with that, but if it's like you were saying, in a dishonorable discharge, that might be a bar of benefits there, so.
But the thing is I called up the cemetery, they said that she could still be buried with her first husband, so I'm trying to figure out, why can she still do that, but not have any benefits? It's kind of strange. I don't know.
Well, it might be a good idea if you would go visit
Yeah.
with David.
We can-
I
Give him
I
your
have an answer.
details.
I have a question for every one of these people.
Good.
I swear I do, so, yeah, I do talk to a lot about that.
Well, and David, maybe if you could elaborate just a little bit on the different levels of discharge and how folks are treated by either the VA or just benefits in general and that sort of thing.
So basically with the discharges through the VA, what we've seen is anything above a OTH discharge, which is other than honorable, they can work with you. So general, under dishonorable, sometimes they can work with that. But at OTH, what we'd have to do is we'd have to basically send in a claim asking the VA to accept that discharge for benefits purposes. And what the VA will do is make an administrative decision. They'll look at the circumstances and everything involving that bad discharge, and they'll make a decision. And I've seen it happen, I've seen it happen in this area where they'll say, yeah, we see that you had an other than honorable, but maybe you were suffering from a mental issue or other serious issues that caused you to, perform the action that got you that bad discharge. So we never just look at a discharge and say, oh, other than honorable, go away, you're not going to get any benefits. We always try to work it. So
I'd really be interested in
yeah,
that. because-
still, that's what I said. I wouldn't tell you no until you actually came in and I got to look at all the paperwork and review everything.
Oh, I know
'Cause there's
lots.
yeah.
I got everything. Yeah.
Well, David, maybe you could also explain a little bit about I've heard recently Vietnam era veterans and the Agent Orange issue, and that some are eligible for benefits, but they may not know it.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you suggest that they do?
Basically, if you are or you know any Vietnam veterans out there that haven't applied for benefits, you would want to refer them to our office because there's a big list of conditions that the VA is recognizing as Agent Orange presumptives. So there could be some Vietnam veterans out there, for example, diabetes too. That you could, as long as you serve boots on the ground in Vietnam, the VA is going to assume that you were exposed to Agent Orange. So if you have a diagnosis of diabetes too, it doesn't matter right now. If you come see us, we can file the claim and get them service connected. So there's a laundry list of different things. So the best thing to do is send them to us to screen them.
So if you're a veteran or who knows one, send them over there, whether they think they have an issue or not, and whether they have their paperwork or not. It seems like that's one of the things that we hear a lot about, is that we have folks that are in their 60s and 70s now who were in the Vietnam War era, and they got out of the service, they never looked back, they went ahead with their lives, they didn't need the VA, they didn't need any of those services, and all of a sudden they get sick or they have financial trouble, and then they start trying to get their benefits.
And there's no time limit on which you can file benefits. We're still doing claims for World War II veterans, so it's never too late to.
And you
get
can
in
trace
and
back somebody's paperwork
Oh,
if
yeah.
they can't find their DD-214, and
I think it's DD.
DD-214 is.
Yeah, I've got that.
and another thing I've heard is that one of the things that you all do is make sure they have the whole package together
Yep.
before
so
you submit it. So
to-
explain how that
so
works.
that's the importance of using an accredited claims representative now. Is the claims are so backlogged. So if you can go online. The VA says you can go online, fill out a couple forms, and send the claim in. But a lot of times what we're seeing is those claims that people try to do on their own, mail in or through the computer, they get really delayed because they're not attaching all pertinent evidence to it up front. And so what we do at our office is we won't file anything until we have what's called a fully developed claim, and it saves months and months of waiting. So it's a really important time to use your resources, your county resources. We don't charge anything to help you. It's all free, and we can do it the right way.
And where's your office?
We're in Littleton, on 1690 West Littleton Boulevard, at the Arapahoe County Plaza.
Is Littleton still considered the county seat of Arapahoe County?
Yeah, why is that?
Even though they've sort of been,
Why is that? Clear over there. It's like.
Tradition.
shall we go,
The county commissioners, they voted to do
back in my hometown, it seems like in the middle of the night, a bunch of guys would get in a wagon and with horses, and they would drive to the next town, and they would steal their paperwork, and they would bring it back and declare themselves the county seat. Did that happen in any of your states? I heard that it happened in Central City, too. That at one time it was the capital city of Colorado, and somebody went in the middle of the night and did something there, but anyway, we don't really do that anymore. And so, yeah, Littleton is the county seat, so that's where you're going to find a lot of the services. We also have the Arapahoe County building over by the City Hall that does offer a lot of the human services as well, but the employment services are at the Littleton office, and I think it's well worth the trip to go there, and I'm sure you can do a certain amount of things on the phone and that sort of thing too, once you've kind of gotten.
We have our office set up to where if it's a, if it's a distance thing, we can do work through email, fax. We make it easy.
Do you do any FaceTime or Skyping?
We haven't done that yet. That's something good to look into, though.
Yeah,
Definitely,
especially for people with disabilities who
Definitely,
maybe
that's something
can't
we
get
can
out. and-
Talk about, yeah.
Yeah. So, more questions, audience? Over here.
Yes, can you speak to the eligibility of spouses of deceased vets who otherwise would be eligible for these benefits?
Yeah, so if the spouse of a deceased vet was living with that veteran until he passed,
Or she?
yeah, he or she passed, she's eligible to apply for any one of the survivor's benefits. A big one that we're seeing now with some of our Korean War veterans and our Vietnam veterans passing away is a benefit called dependency indemnity compensation. So how I was telling you guys earlier that you have a Vietnam veteran with diabetes too, that's going to be a presumptive service connection. Say that veteran passed away due to complications with his diabetes, his widow can come into us and we'll file a DIC claim for her. And basically what that gets her, the basic entitlement to that is, it's around $1,245 per month tax-free. So that's a great benefit.
And that could be very important if that survivor is only living on Social Security or whatever.
Can I add to that real quick?
Sure.
As far as the employment side of that, spouses that their spouse is totally disabled or deceased veteran whose disability or death was service-connected, or a service member who was killed in action or listed as missing in action while serving on active duty are also eligible for vet services at the Workforce Center.
Well, we passed a bill last year or the year before to allow spouses of veterans who are disabled and still alive to be able to get any veterans' preferences in hiring. So I'm not sure if you've seen any spouses come in with that question.
Not yet.
And it's a pretty new thing, so it'll probably take a while for people to hear about it. But we figured that if it's going to, if the family needs help, why not have the spouse who can work and have that benefit? So, yeah, you have a question.
I have a question regarding the veterans burial benefits. I know it sounds crazy. I'm a vet myself. My father passed away as a vet. This is basically for my wife. But if I should die first, would she apply to you guys to help? We have no other family. So would she apply down there? I mean, how does someone go and get, I was thinking about being buried in one of the national cemeteries.
Yeah. So you'd probably be looking at Fort Logan, right?
Yeah.
The
Either
most
here or
important thing,
from
yeah,
Louisville.
the most important thing would be to make sure that she has the contact information to either our office or to Fort Logan. And what they'll need is a DD 214 and then a copy of the death certificate. And then other than that, it's not a.
Can you get that all arranged before they pass away?
You can't pre-plan at Fort
You
Logan.
can't.
What if the
What are
spouse
the
passes away first?
DDs?
The spouse can be
The
buried.
spouse of the veteran can be buried there first if the spouse passes away
Yeah,
first.
she would pass before me or whatever. I'm just wondering, is that,
Yeah, the best.
do you know what the costs are? Because I'm kind of looking at,
There's no cost at Fort
care of
Logan,
the
so everything.
There's no cost.
Everything is out of your pocket up until the point you get to Fort Logan. Once you get to Fort Logan, everything is covered by Fort Logan.
Okay, and
So
then
you would have mortuary
talk to
expenses.
somebody down there, I mean, you have to let them know they're coming, or, I mean, you know.
Once,
just don't show
once
up
the
on-
event happens, then whoever your mortuary is will work with,
Yes, and a lot of times that's the case.
yeah. But do you still have your DD 214? Do you know where it
Oh,
is?
yeah.
That's
I
the
have
Oh,
most
good.
important thing. There's a
I
lot of
recorded mine in several counties.
Good, good.
That's good.
They lost a lot of records.
Yeah, I think a building burned down in St. Louis or
Yes, it did.
something, and a lot of records were lost, yeah. Yeah, so you do have those burial rights, and like he said, the mortuary on preparing for the funeral and whatnot, those expenses you have to pay, but the burial and everything is at no charge at Fort Logan.
Okay.
And it's a very nice ceremony that they do too. if you haven't been to one out there.
I haven't been there, I've been elsewhere.
Yeah. But they do a really nice job at Fort Logan, and there are always volunteers that come and help at those services and just make it a really nice service.
Okay, good, thanks.
How has the sequestering helped, affected your services?
Our services, not at all.
And will not,
That's above my,
so it hasn't affected anybody else either?
that's a, yeah.
So you're a county employee, so they're county employees, not
We're not
federal.
federal, we're not federal.
So it
So we haven't had sequestration per se, we have had budget cuts over the last several years, and, but I don't think it's impacted
We've
their
been looking
office.
good. We've actually, our office has grown. They've given us a extra part-time admin person, so that's a good sign for us.
Yeah. And how many veterans would you say we have in Arapahoe County?
Over 40,000.
Yeah, it could be even higher. Those are the ones you know about.
That's true.
So I do have a question for the workforce people. I'm retired from Larimer County and I was an administrator with the child support program there. And one of the things we found in Larimer County was that the child support program actually ran into more of your vets than, say, the welfare program or the TANF program. So do you have an interface program worked out with the child support program? Because if they're struggling to pay child support, they need you. So if they're struggling to pay child support, they may need him for additional resources. And so we found that we had to work out an interface. Have you done that? Are you thinking about it? You will now?
Well, we do have a program, it's actually right down the street at the Center Point office, it's called Parents to Work.
Yes.
And they work directly with, they work with vets, they work with everybody.
Okay.
But they'll call us and they'll say, hey, can they come down and work with you folks with their resume and so forth, and let's
Okay.
get them employed. But yeah, that's open to everybody that's struggling with the child support piece.
Which many vets are.
So other tidbits of information you'd like to share with us that we should know about your programs? Felicia?
I would. I don't want to assume, but are many of you vets? Okay. So I understand that our program, we definitely service the people involved in the judicial system. However, we are actively looking for veterans such as yourselves to come in, volunteer, and mentor with our court. The requirements, I would like Todd to speak on it a little bit more, but our program really, really is more successful when vets have support from other vets. Your commitment would be just, you would be assigned a vet, and actually maybe I should have you explain it a little bit
Todd, you
more.
wanna-
Yeah, so the evidence-based model nationwide is, and I'm sure it's not a shock, but vets like talking to vets. And the mentors in this treatment court are the secret sauce. I mean, they're really what makes it. The concept, we have the concept of DUI courts and wellness courts, it's all the same model, but what stands us alone are the mentors. And, yeah, we could really use your help. You don't have to be a combat vet, it's a plus, but, vets know the lingo, they know the bearing, they know how to talk to these guys. They've certainly known somebody that was in combat. And all we need is, we just ask that you come to court on Friday with them, and that's not always every Friday. And that you just talk to them once a week, take them out to coffee, and you can go snowboard, or just, it really works. And I've got flyers and contracts if anybody's interested, or if anybody knows of a vet, have them give me a call. I could really use their help.
Can you explain a little bit more about sort of how long someone's in the program and what that process looks like?
Yeah, so it's a minimum of 18 months, and it's a tough program. I mean, it's they're doing your analysis weekly, and of course we're doing their treatment, substance abuse treatment. So it's a minimum of 18 months, and they have different phases. Phase 1 is a couple months. They're reporting to court every Friday. Phase 2's every other Friday. Phase 3 and on up. And yeah, it's a commitment.
So
It really
we-
is.
It's not even entirely the 18 months. So typically when someone comes in, we're just working on getting them stabilized with housing, getting them at least into some sort of treatment, even if they're not sober. They do focus on a lot of group work in phase 1. Phase 2, we're able to transition them into that they're able to maintain their sobriety. We really focus on that. In phase 1 and phase 2, we actually pair them with Todd only because of how much they're going to have. We don't want to overwhelm them too much. The actual commitment of right now where we are, we're looking at mentors for phase 3, phase 4, and these are guys that are a little bit more stable with their sobriety. They have their treatment plan, they're working their treatment steps. Granted, it is a process, and it is possible for them to relapse. We actually kind of expect it at some point, but they just need the support. We have a lot of guys that deal with real issues. They're not comfortable talking about their PTSD. They're struggling with their symptoms. They're struggling with their sobriety. They're struggling with even suicide. You know, their buddies that are going through stuff, and we're looking for someone like that. So even if you can't do the full 18 months, we can really use you for the time that they're in phase 3 and phase 4. And also, if you're not interested, if you have access to anything, if you're around vets, please take a flyer. We really, really need people.
Yeah, I was
Here's a
curious,
question.
are these individuals being put in some sort of transitional housing, or what's it look like for them when they're getting out?
So a lot of them do come out from custody. Some of them have protection orders from their family that they're not able to go home. We are responsible for finding them housing, and we are really working with that. Probation has paid for motels. We have worked with the VA, with the GPD housing and BASH, all of those resources. Some of the guys that are not eligible, though, we do put them in sober living homes. It's really important that we don't have them on the street. It's really important that we don't even have them in shelters. We don't want to put them in places that they're vulnerable.
Are you familiar with SSVF, Supportive Services for Veteran Families?
I'm not, and I would love to hear about it.
Okay, I work for the VOA,
Oh,
called the
VOA is
Back Home
another-
Program,
okay.
right? So it's kind of an intermediary between HUD, BASH, and GPD, and it's a housing first model. So we're working with a lot of veterans who do have addiction issues co-occurring with PTSD, things like that, and sobriety is not necessary, it's desirable,
Oh my gosh.
but it's case management. So what we do is try to get them into housing. There's rental assistance, there's moving costs covered, there's financial assistance available, or counseling rather. So it's kind of the answer to the people who fall between the cracks with HUD, BASH, and GPD. So we're over on Santa Fe Drive in Denver right now, and we can talk more offline and
Is that the
exchange
new
cards.
center that was just opened?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. The Bill Daniels Veteran Services Center.
That was on my list to visit. So
Okay.
I would love to connect with you, and if you know of anyone else, I know that there's a lot of sober living homes that people just get residences and they voucher out to, you know, rent a room. We have a lot of that, but it is a huge need. We're running out of resources, especially for someone that, when you said that sobriety is not required, that's one of the biggest barriers, is that a lot of these places, you have to be sober, and even if you have one slip up, which,
Sure.
I mean, we're talking about with addiction and coping, actually self-medicating. It's part of the process. They're immediately either disqualified or exempt. So it is a huge issue.
Did you bring any cards tonight with
Actually,
you?
they're in my car. I was just thinking that I'll slip out here and grab them and
If not, I have a
pass them
paper.
around.
Great, because some other
Absolutely.
folks might want to be able to contact you as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
We have one better than your program.
Oh, you do?
Awesome.
Good, yeah, it is. It's wonderful. It helps a lot of people out. I think right now, in the last 3 years, we've housed over 800 that fall through the cracks with the
Wow.
pre-existing programs. It's VA financed, but not, VA doesn't legislate our policies as much. They still oversee it, but we have a lot more wiggle room. So we're able to help on a case-by-case basis.
And one last thing I would just like to add, even if you're not interested in mentoring, I would invite anyone to come and visit our court. We are really trying to network with any resources possible, and even not just education. We really want to put the court on the map. We want to put this population on the map. We want to keep stressing to our judicial system that there is a need for this type of court. There is a need for these types of services. So come and visit. It's a court experience that you would not experience anywhere else.
So if
This
they
was
want
one
to
of the
visit.
flyers too, by the way,
Yeah.
that they were talking about for mentors, so we've put them up front here. If any of you are interested in being a mentor or want to know more, this is what it looks like, and they're up front there.
And also for anyone who doesn't know where the court is or how to get there or what the process is, if you could explain that and when you have your sessions.
Okay, we do have actually court every Friday. Not all of the vets are required to report every Friday. Session starts at 10:30. We are in Arapahoe County Justice Center on Potomac and Arapahoe. It starts at 10:30. Happy to give my information out. We're used to visitors. The guys are used to visitors. And if anything, like I said, it's just knowing that they have support. A lot of them really do feel they've expressed, we got a lot of notoriety when we were servicemen, but now that I'm in my t-shirt and jeans, nobody cares. Nobody cares that I was this rank. Nobody cares that I did this. And that's just simply not true. So it's just helping them get the support that they need and knowing that they're not alone. It's really important.
And so when you go to the court, you will realize that they're just like family there. It's just amazing, the relationships that they build with their probation officers and the other folks that are there. And when they've done something really good, they get to pick a prize out of the fishbowl. And if they pick a certain one, I think it's a green color.
Yes.
Or maybe that changes, but
It is green.
the green one, then everyone in the place has to do, how many push-ups? 20 push-ups. It's really fun.
Even the judge.
Even the
Used to be that
judge.
the client would be able to pick who they wanted to do push-ups, and of course, that was the judicial team. But we have a deputy. We are on, if I may just tell you who is comprised in the Veterans Court team, it's the judge, it's the district attorney, it's the public defender, it's the treatment providers, it's probation, it's coordinators, it's mentors, and we also have law enforcement. Our law enforcement is a Marine, and he says absolutely not everyone in the court, even visitors, we're all doing push-ups. That's the military way. So we do try. Family is a word that I don't want to use loosely, but it is sort of like a family model. We all work together as a team, and I think the guys at the end of the program see that commitment from everyone. It's really a notable thing.
Can you tell us a little bit about the judge, and is she the only one, or do you have several judges that work the court?
We had a total of 3 since the court has been in existence, but right now we have Judge Bonnie McLean that's on bench, and she presides over all of the problem-solving courts. We have Veterans Court, we have Recovery Court, and we have Mental Health Court. So she's very good. She is trained in a lot of techniques, motivational interviewing, to get guys to open up, to get them to buy in, and again, it's a court experience that you would never experience. And I think when guys come in, we require that the vet visit before they commit to the program, and they come in very scared and they leave like, what was that? So the judge gives hugs, the judge, it's a really team approach. So, yeah. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And I was wondering too if our Arapahoe Douglas Works folks might just have some sort of, I don't know, people in mind of cases that you've had, that you've helped people, and just give us some illustrations of the kinds of jobs that they're getting and what kinds of things they could look forward to if they come over and talk to you folks.
Well, one of the things that we've noticed a great deal is that when you get out of the military, you use the military lingo on your resume. And there's one particular person I worked with who, actually I was talking to Chris, that he would work with satellites, right? And so this gentleman also worked with satellites in the military, and all the stuff that was on his resume, I had no clue what any of it meant. And I said, you need to break it down. I actually have a connection with Lockheed Martin, and I took his resume to Lockheed Martin, and I said, so would you hire this person, yes or no, and if not, why? And they looked at his resume after I even worked with it, and he's like, nah, can we tweak it here and tweak it there, and if you did this, it'd be great. So I went back to the vet I was working with, and we tweaked it a little bit more. He submitted it to actually Raytheon, not Lockheed Martin, but at Raytheon, he got the interview and got the job within probably 6 months of leaving the military. So he was pretty excited about that. So if you come and work with us, we'll actually help you with that. With the resume, and interviewing is another one that people get hung up on, and they really want to focus on their military experience, but we teach them how can you relate that to the private sector. And so there's just a lot of really good opportunity to, even if you've been out of the military for a while, it's really helpful to have that one-on-one service.
And what is the job market looking like now? Where are you seeing the greatest growth and the greatest opportunities?
Well, aerospace is definitely a major growth. I would probably stay away from oil and gas right now. But aerospace, the medical industry is always huge. IT is starting to boom again. Mortgages are picking up, so finance people are definitely needed. But yeah, oil and gas, stay away from right now. The unemployment rate I know for Douglas County is 2.9%. That's where I work. So that's huge considering I've been doing this for 15 years, and I could say 5-6 years ago, we're hitting almost the double digits. And so things are definitely looking up.
And if someone comes in and doesn't have, let's say they have a high school or GED, do you also help them with any kind of technical training, college counseling, anything like that?
Well, what we do, we also do vocational training with those folks, and we do have that grant, the federal grant, the WIOA grant, that works with everybody. Any of the vets can apply for that, and that's, you know, if you're like within a year of getting your bachelor's degree, or if you just do that one certification, or, you know, some people, I had actually one vet that came in and looked at the computer, and he said, oh, I was an infantry person, I don't know what a computer is, and he picked up the mouse and he was doing this on the screen to the computer, and he goes, this is how this works. So, I mean, we're able to sit down one-on-one and work with their computer skills and get them brushed up. We have tutorials that we can work with them on, and so there's all sorts of levels of education we can help them with. And then Chris's grant does a little bit more.
So I wanted to actually share a program that the two state positions that are in our workforce center have collaborated on. It's the Lockheed Martin Black Fox program. What it is my position works one-on-one in intensive services case management style with a veteran. The other position, his name's Colin Schneider, he's our regional veterans employment rep. He works with the businesses, as I mentioned earlier. Lockheed Martin came to the workforce center and they had a need for electronic fabrication technicians. And so the training provider up in Longmont, Black Fox, they agreed to work with the workforce center to, for instance, a veteran will come in, they'll be interested in the program, they can go through the workforce center to utilize the WIOA funds to have Black Fox train them. It's a 5-week-long, pretty hands-on, pretty intense course. When they finish with that, though, they do get NASA-level certifications, which are very attractive to employers in that market. And just to, as of September 2015, they actually placed 66 veterans, 28 of them have disabilities, and 7 non-veterans with salaries ranging from $60 to $27 an hour with a 93% retention rate. And that's just Lockheed. There are other, like Ball Aerospace, Boeing, places like that also like these certifications. So all kinds of opportunities at the Workforce Center for Veterans. Even if you don't identify with the handout here, you still get priority of service. You still have access to all the resource center workshops. I mean, just an incredible resource for veterans looking for employment. So 80works.org.
Did everybody get that, 80 Works? Yeah, you got that? So David, do you have any stories that you can tell us about some people that you've helped and some of the
Success story,
situation?
Preferably.
Preferably a success story, maybe not.
So one that I can think of, a recent one, is we had a wife of a Vietnam veteran who is they were both Arapahoe County residents. She was in a tough spot, actually paying out of pocket for his nursing care, which was leaving her in the red every month. And they had tried to file a claim for Parkinson's disease in connection with Agent Orange in the past, but we reviewed the file and it just looked like there were some clerical errors that didn't allow it to go through, and it was an easy fix for us. We got it fixed. We actually got him service connected at 100%. They went all the way back to when the mistake was made.
Wow.
And it was close to $90,000 in retro pay. And then the other thing, he was rated at 100%, so it qualified him for the VA contract nursing care. So he's in a veteran state nursing home now, cost-free. She's receiving the $3,000 a month tax-free to pay for her living, and it just changed their whole life. It's just
Wow, wow. Is everybody familiar with the State Veterans Nursing Home at Simmons? Well, when we built that, it was in 2002, I think, right, Bill?
Yes.
And hi, Franks. see another veteran back here. We're going to recognize all of you before we end tonight. So we built the nursing home piece. It's a 15-acre property that was deeded over to the state after the Army left the Fitzsimmons Hospital. And it was originally planned to have, sort of this continuum of care where you would have assisted living and you would have transitional housing and then you would have the nursing facility. And we got the nursing facility built, and then we're not really sure what happened after that, but I think right on the heels of that was the recession in 2003, and then we had changes in the legislature and in the governorship, and over time, it sort of has just not had the attention that it really needs to get moving, so that's one of the things that we're working on for the next session is to try to figure out how we can get that project moving again and get those other two pieces built to go along with that and really have a good facility for our veterans because we really don't have any other specifically veterans, state veterans facilities in the whole metro area. So that's something we're working on, and we hope that we're going to have good news for you come, before the end of the next session. Other questions? Sure.
I have a friend that worked with divers in the Navy, and he was a trainer, and he had an emergency that put him deep underwater for an extended period of time. Well, he survived his service fine, but some years later had a massive stroke that left him somewhat incapacitated. And at that time, I don't know exactly how it wound up in probate court, but it wound up in probate court, and they took control of his life and put him in an institution and took away his pension and took away his resources. He had over $800,000 saved from his military service and from the money that came out of that after he retired. And to this day, he's still in this institution that's taking all his money every month. That seems to me that the military has programs that should have clicked into place right away, and that you should be completely eligible for. And I think that's not the only one. I think that this is something that happens more
The
than once.
part of that would have to be, that it's just, when he had that stroke, was there a doctor available to provide a nexus between that stroke and his incident in service? That's the key thing I would be looking for. If we could get that, then yes, then definitely get him service connected, look into all the VA programs, but that's the one piece you might want
The
to.
Veterans Administration sent him to the Spalding Rehab, and they said that he wasn't well enough to come out and be able to take care of things on his own, so they sent him to probate court. All those guardians stripped him of everything he had.
The thing the avenue I'm looking at is getting that stroke service connected in relation to the incident he had in the military. That would be me as a veteran service officer. That would be my number one goal. The first thing I would want to do is get him service connected for that, get him his disability rating, and then kind of go from there. So that's, if you could, I don't know, do you still communicate?
Yeah, I'm
with
still
him?
in contact
I would.
with him. Can we put you in touch with him or him in touch with you?
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. I've worked cases just like that with divers and aneurysms and things like that.
It seems like a lot of these probate courts, because we're advocates for like 3 groups here, trying to stop all the probate scams going on in Colorado, and they are bilking families one after another out of all their properties. I mean, it's all their money, all their properties, and this has happened to a lot of veterans and their families. So, and I know of another lady that was completely service connected, and they don't put them back in with the veterans. These guardians take them out, put them in their own institutions, and they continue taking all their money. And they don't even care about veterans.
They like those military pensions.
They like those military pensions. But is there any way that you as a Veterans Association can stop probate courts from doing
That
that?
might be
It's huge.
that might be an issue to bring up with the Colorado State Veterans Office. I can give you their contact information.
I think our groups have been to almost every agency known to man to stop this.
I'm
I
wondering
mean, we
if there
even
could
tried
be
to go
legislation.
to Congressman Kaufman. He don't even return our phone calls. He saw us one time and that was it. But we've been trying, his name is Free Edward Baker, if anybody wants to research him. It's an amazing story.
I would start with the State Veterans Office and kind of work from there. That's what I would recommend.
Thank you.
Well, and I think all of our state and county offices, have a challenge on marketing. It's like, how do you find out about these services? And that's the hard part. I know they try to go out to all these, hiring fairs and other kinds of events that people have, but as far as I know, there's no like outward bound marketing program where you're running television spots or radio spots, and that could be something maybe to look at with some of these stations. They might be willing to donate some of their time for some of these, for some informational spots that could tell people that these services are available. And we find this time and time again that these great services are out there and very few people know about it. I mean, people just kind of stumble into it instead of really knowing this is where you should go. I think one of the issues we have too is when people leave the service, they may not really be thinking about that at the time, and there may be people telling them about these services, but it's months or years later when they actually need it and actually want to try to find it, and then, all that information is gone, and they just feel like if they haven't heard it on TV, it doesn't exist, right? So, Lewis.
Don't you own an advertising?
Yes, I do.
Help them out.
Except that my client list has shrunk since I got this other job. And so-
Pro bono, no?
Right, I'm willing to do that. But I think certainly some of these stations that really, they really try to do a lot for veterans, and I think they don't know what's most helpful. So maybe a little outreach to them would be useful too, to just sit down with them and talk about what you're trying to get out as a message.
The outreach is our biggest challenge. We have a staff of 3 people covering all of Arapahoe County, so
Yeah.
definitely outreach is a challenge.
Yeah. So now we have another 40 or so people that can give that message too. And that's kind of how this sort of local grassroots effort works, is we tell you, you tell someone, they tell someone, and pretty soon a whole bunch of people know. But I think that's something that maybe we can even encourage. I'll call some of my old friends in the media world and see what they might want to do. That would be a very cool thing to do. So other questions? Yes?
Do you have anything for military children? I mean, they help with, the spouses, but do they do anything for the children?
Yeah, there is benefits for children. Children of Vietnam veterans born with spina bifida, there's benefits for them. And then how I was talking about the survivor benefits, those would apply to a child if they were permanently disabled before the age of 18. Then they could apply for benefits as well. But that's rare that we find those cases. They're out there. I mean, they're out there, but it's not a huge part of our workload.
You had a question or comment?
Curious if anyone knows of any places where veterans can go for financial assistance of any sort when they don't qualify for, like for instance, our program, if you're above 50% area median income, can't really do anything for you. It's a prioritization thing. But that doesn't mean if you're at 51% of area median that you're not financially struggling. So for me, it's hard telling people, hey, we can't help you. So I'd like to know where to send people if they need, $1,000 for daycare or whatever it is their personal struggles are. I think to me that's the big gap in service. Like we're talking about outreach and referrals. So I don't know if you guys are aware of anywhere.
So out of our office, we run the Veterans Trust Fund. So we do have resources straight out of our office through the state of Colorado to help veterans in emergencies. We try to limit it. So our qualifications for our office are honorable discharge, Arapahoe County resident, of course, and then emergency. So if someone's late on rent, utilities, needs groceries, even a daycare issue might be something we could help with, but we definitely do have resources.
Well, we passed another bill, I don't know if that was last year or the year before, that in addition to the Veterans Trust Fund that he's talking about is the Veterans Assistance Program grants. And nonprofits especially are invited to apply for those grants. And we've been appropriating about $1 million a year for those. So it sounds like your group could be a good prospect for one of those grants.
The issue with that though is the honorable. Is that flexible at all, or is that
That's not in the
absolute?
program. That may be their requirement.
That's something because we only have we only have a certain amount of money and it goes quickly, especially around the holidays. So we kind of have to limit it to that.
Okay.
Well, and we've learned over time too that, so many of our veterans that are having problems do have a less than honorable discharge. And so the bill was written specifically that anything, Bill Hanna, you could help tell us what the language is.
Other than dishonorable.
Other than dishonorable. So anything other than dishonorable would make you eligible.
Right, well, because from my experience, I've seen a lot of combat vets who got other than honorables as a result of combat experience, really. I mean, it wasn't until years later that they came to realize that, but, so that's the only reason I ask. I see a lot of deserving people.
Yeah, if you get veterans like that, if you refer them to our office, we can if we can't help them, we have other resources.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask, do you get notification of a vet coming into Arapahoe County that may need assistance when they leave the military in any way? So you can have immediate contact when they discharge?
So I think the best action that we take, before I worked for Arapahoe County, I did work for the state of Colorado, and what we would do, and I'm sure they're still doing it at the state, is they have the TAPS briefings at Buckley Air Force Base, which is, preparing the GIs to get out into the civilian world, and they would go there. You would go there as a state service officer and let them know, hey, you need to come see us when you get out with your DD-214, all your information, so we can file your benefits, and we kind of get them right before they get out. So
Okay.
I think we're lucky here in Arapahoe.
And you only deal with criminal issues, not divorce or anything like that?
Personally, probation. We do have, we've had a lot of luck with attorneys that have wanted to work with our program. They are vets themselves, and my understanding is if they have vets related, well, they just have to be a vet, correct? There's a number of attorneys that are heard about our program and they're like, I'd like to offer our services pro bono. As long as they're, I think even some criminal, I think that was the only,
There is some.
yeah, so.
We have to work with them.
Chris, did you want to add something?
I just wanted to say, regarding the service members that are transitioning, that's one of the barriers on our list to get them in to work with one of the vet reps. And the Workforce Center and the state folks do engage with Buckley Air Force Base here in Arapahoe County. We do have a presence with them, and we are engaged, so we do try to get them, because they are fire hose with information, so we try to at least get them a card and have a quick chat with them if we can, and get them, let them know what the Workforce Center offers. So
Right.
try to do that outreach portion. That's a big portion of our job as well. So we travel around the shelters and bases and community colleges and things like that.
Other questions, comments? Other things we need to know?
I'll just add on. Veterans can go to any workforce center in the state and receive services, so you're not stuck with Arapahoe County. If you don't live here, you can go to most counties in the state do have a workforce center. If they don't have a vet rep there, you still have priority service to everything that they have, and they can put you in touch with the closest vet rep and go from there.
But we are the best.
That's the same with our office as well. You don't have to be an Arapahoe County resident to use our services.
Other questions? Are we going to finish early tonight, folks?
Yeah.
So I would like to have all of our veterans stand up and let us recognize you for your service tonight. We did just rededicate the Veterans Monument in Lincoln Park across from the Capitol. It was built 25 years ago totally with private funds, and it was quite a nice ceremony that we had last week on the 10th. And we were, it was really great to see the people who started the project were still there on the 25th anniversary. So it was really cool to hear them tell their stories of how it got going and how they raised the money and all those kinds of things. So that was really nice. And I know we have Frank McCurdy from the Veterans Committee, the United Veteran, why can't I think of it? United Veterans Committee. I think I have their button on, as a matter of fact. So welcome tonight, and it's good to see you here. If you want to know about any of the veterans organizations in the state, Frank is the guy who knows about all of them. And how many are there, Frank?
Well, we have 31 right now, and of course, all the big guys are there, American Legion, VAB, VFW, GI Forum, but we actually have 51, but they're smaller. And then we have, like you were saying, there's 60 nonprofits and government agencies who are also, part of the UBC.
Great. So I guess the message would be, if you know of anyone that needs help, tell them there are places to go and have them reach out to those folks, and because these services that they're doing are just wonderful, and we just want to really get more people knowing that they're there. So thank you so much for being here tonight. And once again, we're so fortunate in Aurora to have these wonderful people doing wonderful work and willing to come at night and tell us about it. And, we've always seen that all of our folks that come and talk to us are always just so down to earth, straightforward, give us really good information, and they're always willing to help with issues and problems and give us their contact info. So hopefully you all will take advantage of that, and if you don't need help yourself, help a vet, okay? All right.
Join me in thanking our panelists for tonight again. Thank you very, very much. And just in summary, some of you may know that Representative Ryden chairs the State Veterans and Military Affairs Committee in the House. And so this has been, from the state perspective, a committee where a lot of briefings, a lot of the information, a lot of where the latest information is coming in. And so this is a committee that Sue herself is chairing for us in the House. I wanted to re-offer two other things. One of the things that I think you heard that you might be able to do to help us, there were some great questions about outreach. And we provided information from Arapahoe Douglas Works, from the county service officers, from the veterans courts. So if you didn't grab one, grab some information. If any of you are on social media, you can be an important part of getting the word out. We will repost this contact information. And I think all of these organizations are better served the more we can do to let people know that they're out there. And so if you're willing to pitch in and help us take all the contact information you have here, see what you can do to get it posted, encourage people to share it. And some of you brought up some situations that sound like they are worthwhile for follow-up, where we might be able to get some help. So make sure you grab that contact information. The one other thing I wanted to add is the Military Family Relief Fund, which is something, this was a bill I first created in 2005, and we've had bipartisan support, renewals, and authorizations. And so one other thing to mention is this is specifically for active or reserve, any branch, and it's for the situation where if someone either A, has a drop in income that is deployment related, or B, an increase in costs associated, and it is a 2-page application, which is about as little red tape as you're going to get. It's every branch, active, reserve, and guard on that as well. And so thank you again for joining us, and I hope, thank you for everyone here for your service for doing it, and if you can help us us get the word out. It'll help a lot of other people in the community. So thank you for being here.
And there's a flyer back there that's advertising our food drive that we're doing on December 5th. If you want to stop by my house and drop some stuff off, we'll be there from 2 to 4 p.m.